All right, guys, so one of the big news stories to come out the past few weeks is the current Milwaukee Brewers precarious situation when it comes to MLB relocation. About a week ago, I touched on it. They are set to begin exploring potential relocation as early as the fall. The ballpark, American Family Field, needs an estimated $450 million in repairs. I'm going to go through the Brewers' current situation as it relates to relocation and give my current predictions on what I think is going to be happening with this team and the supposed massive renovation that they do need. Kind of give my threat level assessment. So when it comes to the Milwaukee TV market, you can see this is all this is all four North American sports combined. Take a look at the Milwaukee TV market, ranked 38th overall, and it is the lowest in MLB. So that might be a cause for concern if you are a Brewers fan. You're looking at the situation. You've got the smallest TV market. When it comes to TV ratings, the Brewers really don't do that bad. And the other big thing the Brewers have going for them, when it comes to the attendance, they're really impressive for being a small market team. If you take a look, since 2007, there's been no embarrassing attendance years like we've seen with the Marlins, the Indians, the Rays. Really, I mean, they're consistently inside of the top 16, most of the time inside of the top 10 when it comes to that. And that's one of the key factors when you're talking about relocation. I really think what this is, because this is two threats now we've seen in different stories. The first one was back in May. This last one was just last week. I think this is a situation where MLB knows the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, who has a net worth of $700 million. Obviously, $700 million is a lot of money, but in terms of MLB owners, that's on the poorer side. MLB realizes the owner is not ponying up any money. Private money will not be paying for these renovations, so they're making a threat towards the fans and saying, look, you need to pass something, the public needs to pay for this stadium upgrade because otherwise we will relocate your team. And this is your typical threat that you will get when MLB realizes, hey, the owner's probably not going to pay for this thing. When it comes to the actual stadium itself, it is very curious because American Family Field, certainly it's not a top 15 stadium in MLB. Everyone understands that, but do we really think it's on the verge of a breakdown to where they need to repair it for $450 million? I understand there's been reports that it is really old. It has such outdated things. You can't even find replacement parts because they're so old. They don't even sell them or make the replacement parts. I get that. So there must be something crazy wrong with American Family Field for them to be like, this needs to happen. Your lease is through 2030. And I think it's a situation where this is a smaller city. The city does not want to budge on any type of taxpayer money going to this renovation. And they just did build a massive new arena that's very nice for the Bucks as well. So when it comes to the threat level, I think right now, the Milwaukee Brewers, the fans, I think you guys are pretty safe, but this is something that's probably going to get really ugly depending on how all of this works. If the public votes down potentially paying for any of these renovations, because MLB is virtually demanding it, coming out and saying, oh, the Brewers are going to start looking into relocation, even though the fan base is perfectly fine. The TV ratings are perfectly fine. The only argument you can really make against the Brewers when it comes to them as an MLB market is the fact that the TV market is the smallest in MLB, and their owner, in terms of his net worth in comparison to other owners, he's not particularly very rich. So is this a thing where there can be a compromise? Maybe it's half privately funded, half publicly funded. The other thing I will say about American Family Field, and when it comes to renovations, like how quickly should a stadium get a big renovation? A big renovation I would consider would be like 300 million or more for MLB stadiums. Normally it's like 20 to 25, maybe 30 years after the stadium opens. So if you look at American Family Field, the cost of it in today's dollars, right around 660 million, seems fairly cheap for a retractable roof ballpark, although a lot of that has to do with where it's located in Milwaukee. You know, that area, it's not going to cost nearly as much as building a new stadium in, let's say, New York City. It was built, it took 5 years to complete because they had a really bad crane collapse, and that caused it to delay, but it ended up opening in 2001, so this is what, year 23 of American Family Field? I would say, yeah, probably now, or is this year 22? Oh, it might be year 22. Either way, I would say now or maybe within the next 4 or 5 years, it is due for a renovation. It just comes down to how is it going to get paid? And it's weird that MLB has come out and been so obsessed with this. There must be something, you would think, seriously wrong about this stadium. Either that or MLB just wants to leave Milwaukee, honestly, because they didn't threaten Cleveland with any type of relocation when their attendance was terrible and they were still a good team. Even the Rays, I feel like, you know, with their horrible Tropicana Field, haven't been threatened like this to where it's literally an ultimatum. But the Rays do have a different situation. They don't need a renovation. They need a brand new stadium. I do think the Rays still have a higher chance of moving than Milwaukee for sure, but I did just want to go over the Milwaukee situation. And then you talk about where could they relocate to. Well, number one, they have a lease through 2030, so they're not going to be relocating anytime soon. And I do think the next two cities to receive an MLB team will probably be in the form of expansion, not relocation. Probably 2025. It just depends on the Rays situation if they're able to build a new stadium. So right now, if you big picture this Milwaukee Brewers situation, it comes down to public versus private. The renovation, you know, $450 million, it's no small amount, but it doesn't strike me as, I mean, if this stadium is over 2 decades old, it does kind of make sense. Look at the recent Rogers Center renovation of right around, what is it, $350 million. It's a multi-stage thing. I do think these renovations at American Family Field are there's probably a structure issue with it. I don't think this is like, oh, we just want to upgrade the stadium, although let's be honest, they do need to upgrade the stadium, but it does seem like there's something deeper at play. Otherwise, they would not really be threatening this. You could threaten probably 5 or 6 other ballparks that are worse than American Family Field in terms of just their aesthetics. So I do think there is something wrong with its structure. Maybe its roof. Maybe it just has a really outdated, electrical system. I don't really know. I can only speculate. This does seem like, if I was a Brewers fan, I would not be worried right now because the lease is through 2030, but you do have a situation where seems like this is going to be public money. The public doesn't want to pay for it. The governor doesn't want the taxes to pay for it. And now you're running into a bit of a problem. And it's getting to the point where MLB is coming out threatening and saying, oh, the Brewers and their owner are going to look to relocate. To me, it seems more like an empty threat. The Brewers have fine attendance. There's really no reason to relocate this baseball team. Even when you look at the stadium, it's not like, this is not a dire situation. So right now, I would not be too concerned if I was a Brewers fan. And there are cities that are growing a lot faster than Milwaukee. Definitely Charlotte, definitely Nashville, but I think that's anecdotal. I mean, if you're talking about the year 2030, we don't know what the year 2030 is going to look like, and Nashville should probably have a team by 2025 or 2026, you would think, with MLB expansion likely happening there after the Rays situation gets figured out. There are other teams, I would say right now, if everything was equal, the two teams I would say that would be relocating would be the Rays and the Marlins. Now, Obviously, it's impossible for the Marlins to relocate. They just built a new stadium, but based off of their attendance with their new stadium, they would be, I mean, their TV ratings are the lowest out of any team in baseball. They'd be 1A in terms of relocation, and then the Rays are right there as well. The story with them is kind of the same as the Oakland Athletics. You know, they've been trying for almost 2 decades now to build a new stadium outside of St. Petersburg. Now their next proposal is in St. Petersburg, but they've got another one that's in and around the Tampa area. I don't know. It seems like a 50-50 chance on if they're going to stay or possibly relocate maybe to Orlando, where there's a lot more tourism, there's a lot more foot traffic, you get a bigger population, and possibly more eyeballs on that team. But we'll have to see. Either way, right now, I would say it's a pretty low threat level, but it is a unique situation because you don't see MLB come out and threaten and say, oh, they're looking to relocate if they cannot raise, you know, the $400 million to get these renovations to their stadium. Either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.